I sat in my recliner with my service pistol across my lap, watching my wife of 18 years come down the stairs with another man. My name is Vincent Cooper. I'm 63 years old, and I used to believe that 38 years of military service and unwavering loyalty meant something. I was wrong. The dark blue BMW in my driveway shouldn't have been there. I'd cut my defense contractor meeting short in Denver when the client had a family emergency. Instead of staying another night at the Holiday Inn, I decided to surprise Michelle. After 18 years of marriage, I thought she'd be happy to see me come home early. The knot in my gut told me otherwise. I've spent most of my adult life reading situations, assessing threats, and making tactical decisions. 38 years as a Marine will teach you to trust your instincts. I started as enlisted at 22, worked my way up through the ranks, and made colonel by the time I hit 50. When mandatory retirement came at 62, I thought I was done with combat situations. Turns out the war was just beginning at home. Let me back up a few months. Michelle and I met when I was stationed at Camp Pendleton. She was 29, working in marketing for a real estate firm in San Diego. I was a colonel, 43 years old, 1 year from mandatory retirement. I thought I'd found the perfect military wife. She understood the deployments, the moves, the uncertainty that comes with serving your country. When I retired last year and took the contractor position, she seemed relieved we could finally settle down permanently in Phoenix. The changes started about 8 months ago. Michelle joined a gym, something she'd resisted during my entire military career. I want to feel good about myself again, she explained when I raised an eyebrow. Fair enough. At 48, she deserved to take care of herself. What I didn't expect was the complete transformation that followed. First came the new wardrobe, expensive workout clothes that cost more than my old combat boots, designer athletic wear with brand names I'd never heard of, sports bras that looked more like fashion statements than functional gear. Then there was the underwear, delicate, expensive pieces I'd never seen her wear in 18 years of marriage. The gym membership came with a personal trainer package. Christopher helps me with my form, she'd explain when I asked about the additional charges on our credit card statement. $200 a month for specialized training seemed steep, but Michelle insisted it was worth it. He really knows what he's doing, she'd say with a smile that seemed different somehow. Then came the phone. Michelle had always been social, but suddenly her device was buzzing constantly. She'd excuse herself to take calls, returning 15 minutes later with flushed cheeks and a distracted expression. Her posture would be different, straighter, more energetic, like she'd just received good news. "Who was that?" I'd ask casually. "Just Sarah from the gym," she'd say. "We're planning a girls' trip to Sedona." But Sarah from the gym never materialized. When I suggested we have her and her husband over for dinner, Michelle would deflect. "She's too busy with work," or "her husband travels a lot." Always an excuse. The business trips became torture. I'd call home from hotel rooms in Dallas or Seattle, trying to maintain our connection across the miles. These weren't pleasure trips. Defense contractor work meant long days reviewing security protocols, updating training materials, consulting with military brass who still valued my experience. "How was your day?" I'd ask during our nightly calls. "Fine, nothing special," she'd respond, her voice increasingly distant. "Just went to the gym, did some shopping." Sometimes I'd hear things in the background that didn't fit. Jazz music playing softly, though Michelle preferred country. The sound of a male voice murmuring something, followed by Michelle's sharp, "shh." Once I could have sworn I heard laughter, deep, masculine laughter, that definitely wasn't coming from the television. "Is someone there with you?" I asked during one particularly unsettling call. "Just the TV," she answered too quickly. "You know how loud these speakers are." But we'd had those speakers for 3 years. They weren't particularly loud, and Michelle usually kept the volume low in the evenings. My military training had taught me to pay attention to details that didn't add up. In combat zones, inconsistencies like this could get you killed. The breaking point came when I was organizing receipts for my contractor expense reports. Mixed in with my business paperwork was a receipt I didn't recognize. Dinner for two at Romano's, an upscale Italian place downtown that charged $40 for pasta and $15 for cocktails. The total was $186.47, including tip. The date corresponded with my last trip to Colorado Springs. I stared at that receipt for a full minute, running calculations in my head. 2 entrees, 2 appetizers, a bottle of wine, dessert. This wasn't a quick lunch with a girlfriend. This was a romantic dinner for two people who had time to linger over multiple courses. That night, I confronted her. I waited until we were both in the kitchen after dinner, when the atmosphere was casual and her guard might be down. "Did you go to Romano's last week?" I asked, setting the receipt on the counter between us. Michelle's eyes flickered to the receipt, then back to my face. For just a moment, I saw something I'd never seen in 18 years of marriage. Genuine fear. Then she composed herself, smoothing her expression into careful neutrality. "Yeah, Sarah and I had dinner there. We were celebrating her promotion at work." "Sarah got a promotion?" I pressed, watching her body language. In the Marines, reading people could mean the difference between life and death. "She didn't mention that when you talked to her this afternoon." "It was last minute," Michelle explained, but her voice had that slight edge it gets when she's stretching the truth. "She called from the office right after it happened." "And you took her to Romano's? Since when do you spend $186 on dinner with a girlfriend?" Michelle's face transformed then. The careful mask slipped, replaced by indignation. "What is this? An interrogation? Since when do I need to account for every dollar I spend? I work hard keeping this house running while you're traveling." Her defensiveness confirmed everything. After 38 years of military service and 18 years of marriage, I knew when someone was lying to my face. The question wasn't whether Michelle was having an affair. The question was how long it had been going on and what I was going to do about it. 3 days later, my phone rang as I was boarding a flight to Denver. My client, a retired Army general named Peterson, was apologizing profusely. His father had suffered a massive heart attack and was in intensive care. "Could we reschedule our security consultation for next month?" The man sounded devastated. I stood in the jetway watching other passengers flow around me like water around a rock. My military training kicked in automatically. Assess the situation, consider all options, choose the best course of action. I could extend my stay, try to schedule other meetings in Colorado. I could fly to another city where we had ongoing defense contracts. Or I could go home early and surprise my wife. For the first time in our marriage, Michelle wouldn't know when to expect me. I'd catch her completely off guard. Maybe I'd finally get some answers about the mysterious Sarah from the gym, the expensive dinners, and the phone calls that made her light up like a Christmas tree. I changed my ticket and boarded a flight home instead. The BMW wasn't supposed to be there. I sat in my truck at the curb, engine off, staring at that dark blue sedan parked in our driveway like it belonged there. Not a neighbor's car. After 18 months in this subdivision, I knew every vehicle on our street. Not a service vehicle, no company logo, no ladder rack, no work equipment visible. Just a sleek, expensive car that had no business being at my house on a Wednesday afternoon. The license plate was from Arizona, recent registration. The car was immaculate, washed and detailed like someone who took pride in their appearance. Through the rear window, I could see a gym bag in the back seat, and what looked like a protein shake bottle in the cup holder. 38 years of military training doesn't just disappear when you retire. I found myself conducting surveillance on my own home, noting details that might become important later. The position of the car, parked close to the house, angled for a quick exit. The fact that whoever drove it felt comfortable enough to use our driveway instead of parking on the street. This wasn't a first-time visitor. I approached my own front door like I was conducting reconnaissance in hostile territory. Key steady in my hand despite the adrenaline coursing through my system, breathing controlled and measured, senses alert for any sound or movement that might indicate danger. The house felt different the moment I stepped inside. There was an unfamiliar energy in the air, like the charged atmosphere before a thunderstorm. The living room looked the same, Michelle's decorating magazines stacked neatly on the coffee table, the throw pillows arranged just so on our leather sofa. But something was off. Then I caught it, a scent that didn't belong. Cologne, expensive and musky, mixing with Michelle's familiar perfume. The smell of another man in my house, in my personal space, among my belongings. From upstairs came sounds that made my blood turn to ice. The unmistakable rhythm of passion. Rhythmic movement that made our headboards strike the wall in a steady cadence. And Michelle's voice, higher, more urgent, more alive than I'd heard in months. "Oh, God, yes," she moaned, her voice carrying through the house like a broadcast of my own humiliation. "Right there, don't stop." A male voice responded, words indistinct but tone unmistakable. Deep, confident, younger than mine, the voice of a man who felt comfortable in another man's bed, in another man's house, with another man's wife. I stood frozen in my own entryway, briefcase still in hand, as the sounds of my wife's betrayal echoed through our home. 18 years of marriage, 38 years of military service, a lifetime of believing in honor and loyalty, all of it reduced to this moment of absolute clarity. I had been replaced, not just physically but emotionally. Michelle wasn't just having sex with this man, she was alive with him in a way she hadn't been with me in months, maybe years. The tactical part of my brain, the part that had kept me alive through 3 combat tours, began to take control. This wasn't just a betrayal, it was an enemy action that required a strategic response. I wasn't going to storm upstairs in a jealous rage like some civilian husband. I was going to handle this with military precision. I set down my briefcase silently and moved toward my home office. My steps were deliberate, each footfall planned and placed with care. Years of moving through hostile territory had taught me how to be invisible when necessary. The gun safe in my office contained the Glock 19 I'd carried as a sidearm for the last 15 years of my service. I'd never imagined using it in my own home, but tactical situations require appropriate tools. This wasn't about violence, it was about control. The gun represented authority, discipline, the clear hierarchy that comes with military command. I also grabbed a small digital recorder from my desk drawer. In the Marines, we'd learned that intelligence is only valuable if it can be verified and documented. Whatever was about to happen, I wanted an official record. Back in the living room, I positioned myself in the leather recliner that faced the staircase. Anyone coming down those stairs would see me immediately. The gun rested across my lap, not pointed at anything, just visible. A reminder that this was my house, my territory, and I was back in command. I activated the recorder and settled in to wait. The sounds from upstairs continued, passionate, urgent, oblivious to my presence. They had no idea their tactical situation had just changed completely. Time moved differently in combat situations. Minutes could feel like hours when you're waiting for the enemy to reveal themselves. I found myself counting Michelle's breathing patterns, timing the intervals between sounds, analyzing the audio intelligence like I was monitoring enemy communications. "When did you say he's coming back?" the male voice asked, clearer now as their passion subsided. "Not until tomorrow night," Michelle answered, her voice light and carefree. "His flight gets in around 8. "So we have the whole place to ourselves tonight too?" he questioned, anticipation evident in his tone. "We have all the time in the world," Michelle assured him with a laugh that used to be reserved for me. All the time in the world. That's where they were wrong. Their time had just run out. Footsteps approached the top of the staircase. I adjusted my position slightly in the recliner, ensuring the recorder was still capturing audio and that the gun remained visible across my lap. My heart rate was steady, controlled. This was just another tactical operation, another mission that required clear thinking and decisive action. They were halfway down the stairs when they saw me. Michelle froze first, one hand still gripping the banister, her face draining of color so rapidly I thought she might collapse. She was wearing a silk robe I'd bought her for Christmas last year. Our Christmas, not theirs. The irony wasn't lost on me. The man behind her was exactly what I'd expected. Taller than me, younger, with the sculpted physique of someone who had more time for the gym than real work. He was wearing expensive jeans and a polo shirt that probably cost more than my monthly truck payment. His hair was perfectly styled. His skin had that artificial tan that screamed personal trainer or fitness model. He bumped into Michelle when she stopped, not understanding why she'd frozen mid-step. "Babe, what's—" he began, then followed her gaze to where I sat, the gun resting across my lap, the digital recorder on the side table, my face, which I kept completely neutral despite the rage building inside me. For 3 heartbeats, nobody moved. The only sound was the ticking of the grandfather clock Michelle had insisted we buy at an antique store in Flagstaff. That clock had cost us $800, and she'd said it would become a family heirloom, something to pass down to our children when we had them. Apparently, that future had been canceled. "Sit down," I commanded, my voice carrying the authority I'd developed over 38 years of military service. I gestured to the sofa across from my chair with the barrel of the gun, not pointing it at them, just indicating direction. Michelle's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. The personal trainer found his voice first. "Look, I don't know who you think you are, he started, his tone mixing bravado with uncertainty. Shut up, I cut him off without raising my voice, the same tone I'd used with new recruits who needed to understand the chain of command. You'll speak when I ask you to speak. Both of you sit down. Now. They obeyed immediately, moving to the sofa like soldiers under fire. Michelle's eyes never left the gun. Her boyfriend kept glancing between me and the front door, calculating distances, measuring his chances of making it outside before I could react. I shifted slightly, making sure he understood that any sudden movements would be a tactical error. Michelle, I said finally, turning my attention to the woman I'd trusted for 18 years. We need to talk about this. Vincent, please, she whispered, her voice barely audible. We can work through this. We can get counseling. I made a terrible mistake. We absolutely are going to work through this, I agreed, nodding toward the recorder. And we're going to document the conversation for posterity. I want to make sure I remember every detail correctly when I talk to my lawyer. The personal trainer tried again. Listen, this isn't what it looks like. I lifted the gun from my lap, not pointing it at him, just holding it vertically so the barrel caught the afternoon light streaming through our living room windows. I said, shut up. When I want to hear from you, I'll let you know. He sank back into the sofa cushions, a vein pulsing visibly in his forehead. Good. Fear was a useful tool when you needed to maintain control of a situation. How long? I asked Michelle. Vincent, please don't do this. How long? I repeated, each word precise and final. This was an interrogation now, not a conversation. She swallowed hard, her throat working like she was choking down something bitter. 8 months. The timeline hit me exactly where she intended. 8 months. While I was working 60-hour weeks to maintain our lifestyle, while I was traveling across the country for defense contracts, while I was calling home every night to tell her I missed her, she'd been systematically betraying me for 8 months. Every time I traveled for business? I asked, keeping my voice level despite the calculations running through my head. 8 months, roughly 20 business trips, assuming they'd been together for most of those occasions. A slight nod, eyes focused on the coffee table between us. Look at me when you answer, I commanded, using the tone that had made subordinates snap to attention across 3 decades of service. She raised her eyes, tears spilling over and creating dark tracks down her cheeks. Yes, most of the time. Where did you meet him? At the gym. I was finishing my workout and he offered to help with my form. Her voice was small, ashamed, but I wasn't interested in her guilt. I was interested in intelligence. I turned to the personal trainer. What's your name? He hesitated, clearly reluctant to identify himself in what was essentially a recorded confession. Your name. Now. Christopher. Christopher Stone. Well, Christopher Stone, I said, savoring the way his name sounded like an accusation. I don't particularly care how you met my wife. The fact that you're in my house, in my bed, tells me everything about your character that I need to know. Christopher straightened slightly, some misplaced sense of dignity apparently wounded. I think I should go. You'll go when I say you can go, I countered, gesturing with the gun again. Right now, we're having a conversation about consequences, about respect, about the cost of using another man's property for your personal pleasure. Fear flickered across his face like lightning. You're not going to shoot you? I finished for him. That depends entirely on how the next few minutes go. I'm not a violent man by nature, Christopher. I'm a Marine. I believe in fair exchanges, appropriate consequences, and maintaining order. I turned back to Michelle, studying her as though she were a suspect in a criminal investigation. In many ways, she was. How many times has he been in our house? I don't know, maybe 30, 35 times? The number was higher than I'd expected. This wasn't a casual affair. It was a systematic invasion of my home, my marriage, my life. In our bed? A barely perceptible nod. And when I called from business trips, where was he? Michelle's silence was answer enough. The image formed in my mind, me calling from some sterile hotel room, telling her I missed her, while this man lay beside her in sheets I'd paid for, in a house I'd earned through 38 years of military service. So while I was calling to tell you I missed you, he was right there beside you, I said, the words coming out colder than I intended. Maybe you even put me on speaker so you could both laugh about the old fool paying the bills while you played house. No, Michelle denied quickly, but her voice lacked conviction. It wasn't like that. We never laughed about you. You just disrespected me. Lied to my face for 8 months. Brought another man into the bed where we've made love for 18 years. I let that sink in before continuing. Tell me, Christopher, did she mention that bed was a wedding gift from my parents? That we picked out those sheets together for our 10th anniversary? Christopher's face had gone pale. He was starting to understand that this wasn't just about catching his girlfriend's husband. This was about violating something sacred, something built over nearly 2 decades of commitment and sacrifice. I turned my attention back to Michelle. What were you planning to do? Wait until I was on another business trip and file for divorce? Take half of everything I've earned in 38 years of military service? Michelle's silence told me everything. This wasn't just an affair, it was a calculated exit strategy. She'd been planning to gut me financially while I was traveling for work, probably with Christopher whispering sweet reassurances in her ear about starting fresh together. I wasn't going to, she began. Don't, I cut her off. Don't insult my intelligence any more than you already have. You've been planning this. The gym membership, the new clothes, the expensive dinners. You've been auditioning your replacement while I've been working to keep our life together. I stood up slowly, keeping the gun at my side but visible. Christopher tensed like he was about to bolt, but I wasn't focused on him yet. Christopher, I said, my voice taking on the tone I'd used when explaining consequences to young Marines who'd made serious mistakes. You've been enjoying my hospitality for quite some time, sleeping in my bed, showering in my bathroom, eating food I paid for, screwing my wife while I paid the mortgage. That's quite a service you've been receiving. I didn't think of it that way, he muttered, staring at his hands. Of course you didn't, but now it's time to pay the bill. Nothing in this world is free, son. You've been using my property for your pleasure. Now you're going to compensate me for it. I set the gun down carefully on the side table, still within easy reach. Take out your phone. Open your banking app. You can't be serious. Open the app, Christopher. The command voice, the one that had sent men into combat and brought them home alive. With trembling fingers, he pulled out his iPhone, latest model, probably $1,200. The phone of a man who made good money and had few real responsibilities. I want $50,000 transferred to my account. Consider it payment for services rendered and property usage. Christopher's face went white. $50,000? That's insane. I don't have that kind of money. You drive a BMW, wear a Rolex worth more than most people's cars, and have been comfortable enough to take my wife to restaurants that charge $200 for dinner. You have the money, and you're going to transfer it right now. That's blackmail. No, Christopher, that's restitution. It's compensation for 8 months of using my home as your personal brothel, and it's a bargain compared to what a contested divorce would cost me. I picked up the recorder, making sure he could see it was still running. I have Michelle's full confession recorded. I have you in my house, in my bed, with my wife. I have everything I need to destroy both of your lives socially and professionally. You can either transfer the money and walk out of here with some dignity intact, or you can test how far I'm willing to go to protect what I've earned. The room fell silent except for the ticking clock. Michelle was crying openly now, mascara running down her cheeks in dark streams. Christopher looked from me to the gun to Michelle, searching for an ally or escape route and finding neither. Finally he sighed, the sound of a man accepting defeat. Fine. What's your account information? I recited my banking details, watching as he input the transfer with shaking fingers. The irony wasn't lost on me. 38 years of military service had taught me to be prepared for any tactical situation, but I'd never imagined conducting financial warfare in my own living room. When he showed me the confirmation screen displaying the $50,000 transfer, I nodded in satisfaction. Can I go now? He asked, standing cautiously, eyes still fixed on the gun. Almost. There's just one more thing. I moved faster than either of them expected. 38 years of military training doesn't just disappear when you retire. My fist connected with Christopher's nose with a sickening crunch that echoed through our living room. Blood sprayed across his expensive polo shirt as he stumbled backward, hands flying to his face. That's for touching my wife. Before he could recover, I drove my knee into his stomach, doubling him over like a folded letter. A swift kick to his ribs sent him to the floor, gasping for air that wouldn't come. And that's for doing it in my bed. Christopher crawled toward the front door, leaving a trail of blood droplets on the cream-colored carpet Michelle had picked out last spring. She made a move to help him, but my glare froze her in place. Let him go, I told her, my voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through my system. Your boyfriend just paid $50,000 to learn a valuable lesson about respecting other men's marriages. I'd say he got off cheap. The front door slammed behind Christopher's retreating form, and suddenly our house felt different, smaller, cleaner, like a contamination had been removed. The BMW's engine roared to life in our driveway, followed by the screech of tires as he fled the scene of his own humiliation. I turned my attention fully to Michelle, who was now shaking uncontrollably on our sofa. Our sofa, in our house, paid for with my military pension and contractor income. "Vincent, please," she sobbed. "We can work through this. We can get counseling. I still love you." I almost laughed at that. Love? 18 years together, and this is how you show love? "I never meant to hurt you," she whispered, but the words sounded hollow even to her. "And yet you did, deliberately and repeatedly, for 8 months. I picked up the recorder, stopping the audio and saving the file. "Here's what happens next, Michelle. I'm calling my lawyer tonight. By morning, I'll have divorce papers drawn up. You'll sign them without contest, making no claims on my military pension, my contractor income, or any assets. And if I don't agree..." I held up my phone with the recorded confession. "Then this recording goes to your parents, your friends, the wives from my unit, everyone on your social media. Everyone will know exactly what kind of woman you are." Her face crumpled. "You wouldn't. 8 months ago, I wouldn't have. But you've taught me so much about betrayal, Michelle. About the difference between the honor I learned in the Marines and the reality of civilian marriage. I'm a quick study." The next morning, divorce papers were delivered by courier before dawn. Michelle signed them without resistance, her hands shaking but her signature clear and legally binding. As she packed her clothes and personal items, I sat in the kitchen drinking coffee, watching the sunrise through windows that now belonged entirely to me. She moved methodically through our house, her former house, taking only what she'd brought into the marriage 18 years ago. The expensive workout clothes stayed behind. The jewelry I'd bought her for anniversaries and birthdays remained in the dresser drawer. The woman who'd shared my bed for nearly 2 decades, left with 2 suitcases and a box of personal photos. "Where will you go?" I asked as she loaded her car, not out of concern, but simple curiosity. "Back to Ohio. My parents said I could stay with them until I figure things out." "And Christopher?" Michelle's face darkened. "He won't answer my calls. Changed his number, blocked me on social media. Apparently $50,000 was enough to buy his disappearance as well as his silence." I nodded. That tracked with what I knew about men like Christopher Stone. They were opportunists, not committed partners. When the cost of the relationship suddenly outweighed the benefits, they vanished like smoke. 3 months have passed since I watched Michelle drive away from our house. My house now. The divorce was finalized in record time. Her signature on the uncontested agreement ensuring that my military pension and contractor assets remained protected. No alimony, no property division, no lengthy court battles. Clean and surgical, the way military operations should be conducted. She moved back to Ohio, to her parents' split-level ranch house in the same neighborhood where she grew up. I heard through mutual friends that she claimed our marriage had run its course, and we'd grown apart. The standard euphemisms people use when they don't want to admit the ugly truth about their character. I made sure her parents knew the real truth. A copy of the recording sent via email with a brief, factual note explaining what their daughter had done. I didn't do it out of spite, but out of a sense that justice required full disclosure. Michelle shouldn't be allowed to rewrite our history, to cast herself as the victim of a failed marriage rather than its saboteur. Her father called me once, his voice heavy with disappointment. "We didn't raise her to be this way, Vincent. I'm sorry for what she put you through." That was the only contact I've had with her family since. Christopher Stone disappeared completely after our confrontation. No police report was filed. Pressing charges would have meant exposing the affair and explaining why he was in my house in the first place. The $50,000 sits in a separate account, untouched. I don't need his money, but taking it was never about financial gain. It was about extracting a cost for his actions, ensuring he felt the sting of consequences. Word travels quickly in military communities. Michelle's reputation unraveled as whispers spread from wife to wife, veteran to veteran. The women who once invited her to coffee dates and book clubs now cross the street to avoid awkward encounters with me. I've become an object of respect in their eyes, the man who discovered his wife's betrayal and handled it with military precision rather than civilian emotion. The house feels different without Michelle. Larger, cleaner, but also more honest somehow. I've replaced the carpet where Christopher bled, bought a new mattress and bedding, rearranged the furniture to erase any ghost of their presence. Some nights I sit in the silence with a glass of bourbon, not mourning what I've lost, but contemplating what I've gained. My fellow veterans have noticed a change in me. A harder edge in business negotiations, a more calculating approach to personal relationships. The man who left for that business trip to Denver was different, softer, more trusting, less aware of how quickly everything you've built can be undermined from within. I've started dating again, cautiously, military widows mostly, women who understand the value of loyalty and the cost of betrayal. I'm selective now, watchful for signs of character rather than just attraction. Trust, once broken, is rebuilt slowly and with constant verification. My contractor work has expanded. Word spread through military networks about my situation handling capabilities, and I've been brought in on more sensitive projects. Retired colonels who've been through similar betrayals seek my advice. There's an unofficial network of men who've learned that civilian marriage requires the same strategic thinking as military operations. Michelle taught me that being a provider isn't enough, that 38 years of military service and unwavering loyalty can be discarded the moment something better comes along. It's a harsh lesson, but a necessary one for any man who wants to protect what he's earned. Some men are destroyed by betrayal. Others use it as an advanced course in human nature. After 38 years in the Marines, I learned my final lesson in tactics from my own wife. The insight that changed everything. Loyalty cannot be purchased with comfort and security alone. It must be demanded, verified, and protected with the same strategic vigilance you'd use to defend any valuable asset. Trust is a luxury that weak men afford. Strong men earn respect through demonstrated consequences.